Good evening, grave robbers. Welcome back to the... I don't even know. With me as always is TV's Noah Lan.
Are you ready? Yes! We did it! We found what might be the worst show in Vegas. And we paid our actual real money to go. And we didn't get thrown out. We watched all of it. This is Criss Angel's Mindfreak.
We committed to the bit Too Close to the Sun.
So I guess a good place to start with this is we were in Vegas.
We were.
And we were like, we don't have anything really planned for Wednesday night.
No, we didn't.
Is Wednesday night the night we see a show?
And so we considered a number of shows.
We were like, we're in Vegas. Maybe we see a Circus Soleil show.
Beatles Love is extremely expensive because it's closing.
Yes, and because it was closing, that was like, it's being doomed. Maybe that's a thing we should check out. We were thinking about the Michael Jackson one. There was one on a boat called Ka.
Yes.
That we were considering.
We were considering Absinthe, which is in the Garden of Caesars.
Yes, Absinthe was really high on the list because it was supposed to be like a dirty circus.
Yeah. And instead, we kept doing bits all day.
Yeah.
We kept joking, we'll go see Criss Angel. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. I think I don't want to see Criss Angel was one of the first things I said when we were planning our trip.
And I went, I won't make you see Criss Angel. Yeah. And I didn't.
And then we were like, well, Penn and Teller are off strip, and we didn't really feel like going off strip. And then we were kind of down between a Circus Soleil show, seeing David Copperfield, seeing Criss Angel, and then like long shot kind of being like, do you want to just go see Carrot Top?
Yeah.
Carrot Top was definitely in the running. And then, like, the more we looked into it, it's like, well, I think Criss Angel's the cheaper of it and the stupidest of it.
We really, that stupid was pulling a ton of weight.
And we basically got to a point where I was like, I know it'll be a good episode of Stay Doomed. I don't have a good reason not to go see Criss Angel when put up against what we have left here as options. Because Absinthe, I think, was, like, especially expensive out of all of them. And so in the end, we're like, all right, let's pull the trigger. We're going to go see Criss Angel live. And, oh, man. We are so glad that we saw Criss Angel.
Yes.
No one else should.
Yes, I think there is something very different about us going.
Yeah.
The way we consume media. Shout out to the women sitting next to us who moved.
Yes!
I don't know if they moved because, for some reason, only our row was sold in our section.
Yeah, there was an entire section, but it was only our row. And we were on the end, and we had to keep standing up so people could get drinks. And we were just like, why did they only sell this one row? And eventually they were just like, we're going to move. No one else is coming. We're like, all right.
Yeah, and we did not have any problem with that. I was a little worried that they had moved because we were annoying. But we hadn't gotten annoying yet.
We weren't annoying, but I think we were clearly annoyed.
Yeah.
So let's break down this whole experience.
Let me crack out the Google Keep notes.
Yes.
Because I took a ton of notes in a Shake Shack 2 hours after this.
So before the show even starts, let's just talk about the atmosphere of the Criss Angel Theater.
Gather your round, children. Do you remember Ed Hardy?
So, we talked about this on the previous podcast. There's like a little photo op with a knocked over ladder.
Yes.
That you can kind of stand on to like emulate one of Chris's illusions, which we had done the previous day. So there was like a line to do it.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Instead of just, Noah and a group of drunk middle-aged folks.
And it was rough because it is clearly a group of people who are either like, I got nothing to do, let's just go see Criss Angel. Like a lot of people with kids, like, he's a magician, we'll go see Criss Angel. And a bunch of people who love Criss Angel.
Yo.
They're like, we're about to go see a wizard.
Yo.
So, that's the vibe.
And everything is very, I am 14 and this is edgy, and also, did I mention it's 2008?
Yeah. There was a lot, like, there was a weird, like gift shop that was full of bunnies.
Yes.
There are no bunnies in the show.
No. Because I considered buying a Criss Angel bunny rabbit, because I have what can only be described as a problem.
Yes. She loves her stuffies. And bunnies have become more of your pastiche.
I don't know if pastiche is the word.
It is not.
It's not. My brand,
Your
if you
brand.
will. Because with wrestling, I have this giant pink rabbit that I carry around.
Is motif what I want?
Motif is the word.
Yeah.
And also, like, I frequently dressed as Alice in Wonderland for a period of time.
Yeah.
To make money.
Yes.
And so, like, rabbits, I had a stuffed rabbit in college that I was very fond of. So, like, I've always been a big fan of bunny rabbits. And I was like, oh, a bunny rabbit. And even I just couldn't bring myself to give this more money.
And, like, there's magic kits and, like, stuffed Criss Angels and stuff like that.
No pins.
No pins.
Which is the thing they could have gotten from me.
But the two things in the gift shop that we have to bring up. One is the program full of tricks that he doesn't perform.
Yes.
There was at least 2 tricks in the program that do not happen. One is the trick that you were calling the Black Parade.
Yes, because they're all dressed as, they're dressed like they're in an emo marching band, in the style of My Chemical Romance's Welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah. And then the other is the ballerina, where it is a take on the sawing a woman in half trick. Laura is showing me the Black Parade. Like, I have never joined the Black Parade before.
I don't know. You had friends in high school.
I was a young boy. My father, he brought me into the city to see the mummers.
Yeah, I was about if you had finished the word marching band, I was going to go, no, those are the mummers.
In any case, the trick, the ballerina is a takeoff of sawing a woman in half, where Criss pulls a woman in half, basically, and she crawls across the stage.
Pull!
My theory is that the way that trick was done, this is not a theory, this is truth, is it is a actress without legs. Like, she, born or due to accident, did not have legs.
Okay.
And they brought her, she appears in one of the episodes of Mindfreak. Like, I know exactly how about this trick. And my guess is they don't have that performer anymore. And without that performer, you really can't do the trick.
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
It does, but also maybe take it out of the program.
So the thing with those programs, and again, this is me putting my musical theater pants on, is those are often printed once and then maybe once in a great while redone.
Right.
Like on a big anniversary or something. If you buy a souvenir program from a Broadway show, you are getting pictures of the Broadway cast. No matter how long it's been since the original cast has been there. With some exceptions, an extreme long runner like Wicked will have updated souvenir programs, but
Right.
If you're buying one a year or two out, it's probably still the original cast.
My feeling is, like, I understand not taking updated photos or anything like that, but eventually you have to reprint them because you run out of them.
Yes.
And if you're going to reprint them, less pages makes it cheaper. So either A, the trick was just recently cut and they hadn't gotten to that point. Or B, they're not selling enough programs that they haven't gotten to that point yet.
I could totally believe they're not selling that many programs because the show in this iteration has only been running for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Because they moved from the Luxor to the Planet Hollywood in 2019.
Right.
And then you've got to figure you lose about a year for COVID, and then you have another slow year in there.
Right.
So, and I don't know how well souvenir programs sell outside of... I collect them, actually. You've never seen them because they're actually in my parents' house.
Oh.
But I have a fairly large collection of them, just kind of rotting away in my parents' house now. But I would have usually bought this, and I just couldn't.
The other thing I want to bring up is, in the gift shop, I run into Criss Angel's brother.
Yes, you do.
Criss Angel's brother, I think his name is JD. JD Angel? No, Angel's not his actual last name. But I run into him, and I was like, hi. And he's like, yeah. Like, he was immediately annoyed that I, like, recognized him. And, it bothered me. Because I was just like, I'm a guy that used to watch this show. Like, you'd think you'd at least give me, like, a... Hi, welcome to the show. Instead, you're just like, yeah, hi. It's also really
easy to not be standing in the gift shop.
I'm going to bring... I'm glad you brought that up.
Because, like, if you don't want to be spoken to... You could very easily just not be out in the gift shop.
He was back in the gift shop at the end of the show doing, like, security.
Huh.
Like, I think that's just his role in the show. Or the production. Except, if you look at him, he has the exact same haircut as Criss Angel. Because he's Chris's double. So yeah. I'm wondering if it's an element of... he gets none of the glory. So this is his way to be amongst the people who are buzzing about how good the show was and actually get kind of his flowers.
Aww.
Or if this is his way of going like, well, he can't be Chris's double. He's the head of security. He doesn't have a show role. Look at him being security, which is even worse.
Because you can also just not acknowledge that he's there.
Exactly. And then not let me know, oh, Criss Angel has a double. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And then we also have to talk about this. We both get a drink.
Yes.
Because we're like, we're at Criss Angel, we might as well get a drink. Both of them are incorrect.
And I really like interesting cocktails.
Yes.
Gentle listeners, there's the Mindfreak, which is... I just want you to tell me what you think this is, Noah. Vodka, cranberry juice, lime juice, and simple syrup.
It's just vodka cranberry, basically.
No, it's a Cosmopolitan.
Oh, you're right, it is a Cosmo.
So, already an easy off-the-shelf drink you slapped a different name on.
Yes.
Jose Cuervo Silver Tequila, Triple Sec Lime Juice, and Blue Curacao.
Yeah, that's basically like a margarita.
Yeah, it's a margarita.
But blue.
Yes, it's a Noah special margarita.
Mm-hmm.
Levitation.
The
Raw is bourbon, lemon juice, and simple syrup.
The Raw?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Illusionist is vodka, yellow Red Bull, and a splash of pineapple.
Yes. So I am like, I don't want to be tired for this. So I'm going to get an Illusionist because there's Red Bull in it. And I'm not super paying attention when he makes the drink, but I watch him go pour blue Curacao in it. And I was like, I mean, it's going to make the drink blue and I'm going to like that, but I did also see him pour the Red Bull in. So this is just a thing now. You just made a thing for me. Thanks.
And I got the Levitation, and he hands it to us, and I go, both of these are wrong. And I was not going to bother the busy, overworked bartender at Criss Angel.
Yeah.
Because they were not wrong in a way that they were not consumable or that they were not, like, we didn't feel we got what we paid for.
Right.
And you went, how can you tell? And I went, well, yours is blue and mine's full of grenadine.
Oh, yeah.
Grenadine's not listed on any of these cocktails.
Anything at all. I should take it back. I don't realize anything's wrong. I see blue Curacao go in. I go, that's probably what I ordered.
No, because mine was supposed to be blue. Instead, mine has grenadine in it, and I go, yeah, it's fine.
Whatever.
Because I don't, it's not making it undrinkable. It's not what I paid for. In fact, it's probably more interesting than the relatively off-the-shelf drinks.
But this is also foreshadowing to just how this whole show is. It's just kind of like, and whatever.
Like, when you're a long-standing production like this, you were mortified when you saw what I had paid at Back to the Future.
Yes.
For the drinks there. Mm-hmm. I got the 88 miles per hour for us, and they were devastatingly expensive.
Devastating.
But they made a specific drink. Mm-hmm. It was not like a standard off-the-shelf drink. They made something that was different enough to be the signature cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen weddings with more original signature cocktails.
Yeah.
Than Criss Angel.
Yeah. So we head in, we get our seats, and
throw in a glow cube like Disney or something.
Yeah,
for God's
something.
Sake.
Make it magic. Some glitter, please. So we get our seats, and they lower a straitjacket from the ceiling.
Yep.
And it's like, if anybody wants to come up and try the straitjacket on and get their picture taken, come up now. And I was just like, I'm going, I'll be back.
I looked away, looked back, and you were gone.
And I was like, this is a chance for me to be on stage at the Criss Angel show. Totally gonna do that. So I get on stage. The guy behind me is like, will you take my picture? And I was like, yeah, no problem. They didn't allow me to do that.
You did get a selfie.
I took a selfie of myself just being on stage. But when you go to put the straitjacket on, it's like suspended. And they don't like strap you in. They're like, just cross your arms. Their professional photographer takes a picture.
Yes.
You're not allowed to take your own picture because they're going to sell you that picture for $45.
And the magician's assistant stands between you and the audience so that it is very difficult to get a good picture of you.
Yes.
What they didn't quite anticipate was that I was on the very far audience left side. Mm-hmm. So I got pretty decent pictures of you anyway.
Yes, which I appreciate. I think it's very foolish to let the audience put on a magician straitjacket and feel how wide the arms are.
So this is going to be the first time I say this to Noah, but not the last. Most people are not studying magic the way you do. Most people do not study magic as much as you do, so not everyone's going to necessarily think about it that way.
Well, here's what this show's going to be. I really love magic. This is going to be a dissection of how terrible this show is in comparison to how the world of magic has changed in the last 20 years. So if you don't want to listen to that, you can sign off. But I'm going to be real upset in a minute.
I mean, I used to watch The Masked Magician.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch all the television specials, like the Penn and Teller specials. By the time Criss Angel had risen to prominence, I wasn't really as, like, actively watching television in general anymore.
Right.
But I remember watching, like, the 90s specials when they aired and, like, the specials on Fox and what have you.
Did you watch the Blaine specials? The Street Magics?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I remember watching one in, like, with you at one point, and I very much fell asleep on it.
Oh, yeah, I think we rewatched one together. Yeah, in any case, this show starts... Well, we should also mention the screens.
Yeah, there's a ton of screens running the same handful of Instagram posts and tweets.
Yes, and it's like you must use the hashtag Criss Angel Live to end up on the screen. So I did that, and I took what is clearly one of the worst pictures of me. I did it on the Scott Holiday channel to kind of hide that we were doing this for Stay Doomed, so I didn't do it on the +2 channels. And I was like, man, my picture's not coming up. I took that terrible picture for nothing. And then I looked and I was like, mine's like the only recent picture. No one's doing this. Oh, they're not updating these. Because I was looking for the pictures that were on the screen and could not find them.
So, I tweeted only vaguely, I have committed to the bit too close to the sun. But to a close friend of mine named Dave, I sent him a picture of the stage scrim curtain. And his response was, of course Criss Angel is in Vegas. You ever, overcommit to the bit and now you're in a Criss Angel Mindfreak drinking a $20 margarita he definitely made wrong? Criss Angel, by the way, autocorrects to Crisis Angel.
Yes.
And I get only in response, Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Angel. I'm curious, in what way is it wrong, do you think? It listed blue curacao and he made it with grenadine. It's the wrong color, Dave. Oh my god. Also, the Mindfreak is a cosmopolitan.
Yes.
So, I needed someone there with me, so I had my emotional support, David.
Yeah.
While this happens.
So the show finally starts, as we're 20 minutes into this podcast. The show finally starts, and it starts with a montage of any media that had ever mentioned Criss Angel. Like, anytime he was brought up on Parks and Rec, on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as a Jeopardy answer. SNL, just anything. It's just, if you said Criss Angel, you were shown in this, montage. The two things I noticed is, one, I want to say 2012 might be the newest thing that was shown.
Yeah.
Everything that was shown was at least 10 years old. And two, they left out epic rap battles of history.
Flash your rears if you're 5 minutes tangle. You can't hide shame with a camera angle. Did somebody say angel? No. See what they be watching.
Where they just crap on him.
Which you and I watched that right before recording this because I hadn't seen that one.
Yeah.
Criss Angel's in that for 2 seconds.
Yeah, he pops in on the David Copperfield Houdini rap battle.
Did someone say angel? No.
No. So, after that, there's this weird vague storyline of the show's being taken over or something's wrong. Because during the let's try on a straitjacket, a streaker shows up. So there is this weird storyline that's going on because the last guy to put on the straitjacket, instead of putting on the straitjacket, pulls off a raincoat and is just in a thong.
Yeah.
And gets tackled and taken out. And then there's an announcement of there's no cell phone usage. People who use their cell phones will be taken out by security while a girl is in the audience taking pictures with her phone. And then these two masked people that look like they're from Squid Game throw a bag over her head that has a microphone in it because all of a sudden you hear her screaming.
Yeah.
And drag her out. And I was like, well, none of that's magic. But I guess they're setting up a plot for this show. None of this will matter.
I understood the screaming woman because that's actually very, very common.
Oh, really?
Yes, the make an example of someone's cell phone thing is done pretty consistently in horror, suspense media. It's something to create a sense of danger of oh, they're gonna get you.
Yeah, I just think just hear me out. This sounds crazy. I think what should have happened to her should have been a magic trick. Because I was at a magic show.
I understand
Rather
that.
than, oh, I guess that happened.
I understand that, but I also understand not wanting to do any real magic until Criss Angel appears. I'll give you that.
Well, walking around, got a bag thrown over their head so you can't see them anymore. Like, I was fully expecting, she's gonna turn into Criss Angel. But no, it's just a thing.
I've seen, I've seen it done similarly enough in enough different places that I was actually completely unflagged by that.
Yeah.
Just because it's something done in theater, it's something done... Now, I will say, I come from theater, and that's something you'll see in, horror, or in, if you're watching a more horror or suspense-driven show, the cell phone message at the beginning of the play will often be more threatening.
Yeah.
And often with a plant of some kind.
Yeah.
If you're seeing a comedy, it'll be turn off your cell phone, or else, LOL. But, it'll be oh, or you're next, or something. So, I actually, based on the mood they were clearly trying to build as you came in, I had the, this is going to be more horror, suspense, thrillery. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're trying to build that, unease and danger by having an audience plant be black-bagged and taken away. Okay.
Yeah, they do...
They have not lost me yet.
Okay. Because I do like the very beginning of this, where it turns into a rock show.
Yeah.
Where you see a guitarist on stage, and he's playing the guitar, and, each strum is linked up to a fire explosion.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is going to feel different. I'm all for this. And then we get our first illusion, which is Criss Angel appears in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, there's I don't know any of the, if there's lore or character names for the assistants. So I'm going to call this one assistant Samara for a lot of this, because she looks like the little girl from The Ring.
Yes.
She's in a white nightie. She has long, stringy, dark hair. She's the 2008 version of Scary.
Yes. Yes.
And she does, a Bray Wyatt backbend walk at one point. And she is decor for a lot of the early tricks.
Yeah.
Including this first one, where she's, on a bed, and the bed turns out to be a cage.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets in the cage, and then Criss Angel standing on the bed.
Yeah. It's it's good, it's Criss Angel. And everybody loses their mind because it's Criss Angel.
But not enough.
This is the first Criss Angel trick that he does, other than appear, is he's going to eat some delicious razor blades.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic modern trick.
Yeah, nothing I hadn't seen before. With each razor blade, he cuts a piece of paper, look sharp. And then he puts it in his mouth and then kind of tongues it a bit, blah, 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 blah. Look at the razor blade in my mouth. Blah, 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 blah. And then he eats it. And this is a trick that Penn and Teller do with sewing needles. This is a trick that I've seen many times. And Criss Angel's we're going to take it a step further. And he takes a camera and he looks up with it. And then so you're seeing this camera and it's just looking down at his face. And then he swallows the camera.
Yeah, it's an endoscope.
So that you go down into his throat and he finds the razor blades. And at this point I'm okay, this is something else. I've never seen someone swallow a camera to prove that they ate some razor blades. I'm 90% sure I know how he did it. This is one I won't give away because I don't think it's common knowledge. But I was at least I'm repulsed. I'm seeing something unexpected. And it's a twist on a trick. At least it's something original.
And I'm seeing one of my favorite things to see in media, which is parents realizing they should have done research. Mm-hmm. And that's always one of my favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite thing about Fantasmic in Disney World is watching people bring children under 4, and when it gets scary, being like, oh
no, there's a whole dragon.
Yes.
At least there used to be.
There is in Walt Disney World. In Walt Disneyland, nope.
No dragon. And then he pulls out the razor blades one by one, all connected on a string. And it's like, ooh, look, it's gross. And while I'm like, okay, I'm on board now, he then does what I consider to be one of the worst tricks I've ever seen.
Yep.
He brings out this rotating clear box.
Yeah, this is like very... Classic's not the word I want to use. This is like old.
Yeah. He brings out this clear box and it's like, look, it's rotating. You can see 100% around it. Look at that. And then they cover it up. And then they pull it down, and there are 4 girls inside of it now. And he's like, magic! And then it just rolls off stage.
Yeah.
Like, the girls never come out of it. Like, before you even have a moment to be like, oh, wow, he made 4 women appear, the whole box is gone.
Almost like those women have to get dressed quickly and go somewhere.
Yeah, but like...
Almost like...
True. But like, part of a magic trick of making people appear is that they then get out of the box and show that they're not
a hologram.
Holograms or robots or fake.
Yeah, and they were just like classic Vegas showgirls. They could have been mannequins.
Yeah. They also did not do a great job of covering the boxes completely.
No,
because I watched one of the girls stand up and her head was above the curtain.
Whoops.
I was like, aha, okay. I noticed she didn't like materialize like on the Starship Enterprise. The importance of ta-da in magic is something that should not be overlooked. Because, as you will hear throughout this, Criss Angel desperately needs applause and, like, approval.
He is the Jeb Bush of magicians.
Yes.
And I mean that in the most please clap possible way.
Yes. And the fact that he didn't take the time to be like, wasn't that amazing, is just confusing to me.
Yeah, he doesn't do well with the part of the showman.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't do well with the charismatic, engaging performer. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it.
It's most of it, mm-hmm. as the show rapidly teaches us. Because this was very much, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with BS.
Yeah.
And, gentle listeners, I was baffled by a lot of this.
So what's next? Is next Straitjacket or Birds?
Straitjacket.
Okay. So...
based purely on my Google Notes in a Shake Shack.
Criss Angel dons the straitjacket that I had worn earlier. And they lock him in it. And there's this whole talk about how he had the record for fastest escape from a straitjacket. And, like, he can escape a straitjacket in, like, 30 seconds or something. And then it says something like, you are about to witness a world record. So, you want to hear some stuff about this Criss Angel record?
Sure.
Let me pull that up real quick. So, Criss Angel actually does have some world records. However, when it comes to straitjackets, the world record is currently held by Lucas Wilson.
Oh, good for him.
He holds the world record for longest body suspension by fishhooks at 5 hours and 42 minutes. A record that he broke in 2002 and then lost in 2008. and is still bragging about it on this show in 2024.
Oof.
He also has this weird record that will come up later about fastest metamorphosis, where he basically does a magic trick very fast. But it's like your record for something that's not real.
Right.
So I don't understand how this works. In any case, he is hung upside down by his ankles.
Right.
And they put him like over the audience. So now the audience is all like looking up to see him. And he starts like spinning really fast. Almost like the centrifugal force separates parts of the straitjacket for him. In any case, while this is happening, they wheel 3 giant fans on the stage.
Oh my god, this is so bizarre.
And just start blowing literal garbage onto the crowd.
Yeah.
Like, some of it's like confetti and stuff like that.
Some of it looks like prop trash. Like, it looks like set dressing from like something that takes place in a dirty section of New York.
Like plastic bags.
Yeah.
Were being blown. Like Target bags. I was like, what do we... Wait, okay.
And I was like, oh, we're not in New Jersey.
So then he escapes from this straitjacket. They pretend like he's going to fall onto the crowd. Like they kind of drop him quickly. And they play a screaming sound effect.
Yeah.
And then from there, now that he's free, but he's still hanging upside down, people grab him and just immediately put him in a box.
Like you do.
And it's one of those things where you're going so quickly from being hung upside down to being put into this box. You had no moments where the magician got to sell, like, this is a sturdy wooden box. This is a real lock. That, like, once this lid is closed, there is no escape. Since there's no sell for that, as an audience member, you should immediately be like, well, that's not a real box.
Yeah.
But I guess Criss Angel just doesn't care.
Yeah, this part feels weirdly phoned in.
So they just drop him in the box. They wheel it back. A woman stands on top of it, pulls the curtain over her head, and when it drops, it's Criss Angel. A trick that you've seen David Copperfield and Lance Burton do a million times.
And like birthday clowns at this point.
But with no credibility. Like, the fact that Criss Angel didn't bother to explain anything to us was just like, look, it's happening again. Like, just like imagine like a clown just being at your birthday party. Like, you want to see some magic? There's nothing in my hand. Now there's a bird. Okay. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, this part felt very, 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 very phoned in.
Yeah. So then I think we're up to birds?
No.
No? What happens next, though?
Well, I don't want to, I want to let you explain. I have something that says switcheroo, that's the switching woman. It's in my notes as fighting game LMAO.
Oh my god, I'd blocked this out.
Friends, Noah and I love professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So our threshold for pretend fighting is higher than your average bear. Like, during AEW, I saw a few strikes that didn't connect, that really obviously didn't connect, and I kept my mouth shut. You know why? That's their business. I can see strikes that don't connect and shut my mouth and mind my business. Because I'm like, okay, it's a spot in a wrestling match. From where I'm sitting, not super close, it didn't connect, but they're gonna do something else. I'm not... mind my business. But if you were doing it for 5 minutes and it looks like your 6-year-old nephew's karate demonstration.
Yeah.
Like, little Timmy is getting his green belt.
I think it's more of like kids playing Power Rangers, where they are a distance away from each other, just going, yeah, 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 yeah. Criss Angel gets attacked by ninjas.
Yes.
And there's a moment where he throws a kick that, like, not only does it clearly not hit, his foot does not get high enough to be anywhere near the part where the person is supposed to be selling impact, that I audibly yell, "Come on."
And that's the first time I think we're going to get thrown out. Not the last.
Yeah. Because then there's sword fighting.
And it's, again, terrible.
It's literally, the ninjas are holding their swords out for Criss to hit them, is the best way to explain it.
Yes.
Like, no one's really swiping at Criss, like maybe one or two where, like, he jumps over it or something. But he's just kind of like, it's a man sleepwalking through a performance.
Your high school production of Romeo and Juliet had more realistic fighting in the Tybalt Romeo sequence. And I'm saying your editorial, y'all had a high school production of a Shakespeare play with crappy stage fighting. I know you did.
Yeah. This was garbage.
This was brutal.
I think it ended in a magic trick, but I was too angry from the fighting. Did they put him in a box?
I don't remember. We were so floored by how poor the combat was.
They also, during this, drop a scrim so they can project a fighting game like health bars over it.
Yeah.
And it's an effect that looks really cool, but is like also really showing your hand of like, this is just a thing I can do.
Yeah.
Like, I can actively put projection over stuff. And I was like, it's a weird card to give away when you're a magician.
There's a lot of...
Not great.
There's a lot of what can be described best by the youth as telling on yourself.
Yeah.
In this show. So, we're watching that and we are floored. Because this is outright... At this point, Noah and I are laughing hysterically. We're having the time of our lives. But I am starting to feel real weird about anyone who spent money to be here.
Yes.
Who didn't come in...
To not enjoy it ironically.
Yeah, and I kind of want to say this, like, now, because we're not going to improve. We are not big, like, we're doing this for the lols people. Like, we don't see things just to make fun of them frequently.
You know there's a full podcast on here about Dear Evan Hansen, right?
That's different.
Okay.
Dear Evan Hansen is a special case. Dear Evan Hansen, had it been good, we would have happily just watched a movie.
Yeah.
Dear Evan Hansen didn't have to be Dear Evan Hansen. Now, Let me rephrase this slightly. We don't see things to spitefully make fun of them.
Yeah.
Like, we always try to remember the human and stay
Yeah,
doomed.
this is somebody's baby.
But this is so poorly done that we have a hard time being kind about this part of the show.
Yeah.
Next, we see a lovely young woman in a white dress pull up this pretty cool illuminated book prop.
Yes.
There's a light in the book lighting her face. I've seen this 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. I feel like every production of Nutcracker does this nowadays.
Yeah.
Where, like, the prop is lit, and so there's not a lot of stage lighting, but she is always lit because of the book she's holding.
Yes. And also, like, there's screens everywhere, so, like, that kind of created this, like, storybook magical forest.
Yeah. And then Criss Angel does a bunch of tired bird tricks.
Yeah, Criss Angel uncharacteristically shows up in a giant coat and suddenly is able to make birds appear. And, like, it's cool that the birds were trained that he could be like, look, bird, and then let it go and it would fly to a tree. That was neat.
Yeah.
And then, like, sometimes he would also have, like, scarves.
Yeah.
And then the scarf would, like, zoom across the audience on a string that was not, like, hidden.
No,
like, you could see the cable.
The cable was so clear.
And, like, it was to the point where, as an audience member, was I supposed to sit here and not wonder, how is he doing this? Because it's like, okay, so all the handkerchiefs are on strings, and all the birds are in his pockets. Like, is this no longer a magic trick? Is this just, look, I have birds?
And we were also sitting behind the guy holding up the giant tarp where the birds were supposed to fly to.
Yes, that was neat. So there's a moment where he makes a bunch of birds appear, and at that moment, this guy, like, puts up a target and light hits them. So the birds are like, this is where we go. And the birds flew right at us. We're like, birds!
And that was right as, like, an usher was walking by who hears me say audibly, "Yay, birds!"
Yay, birds! Go birds!
So I think that usher may have thought I was just, like, the most easily entertained creature that's ever happened.
You were at a Criss Angel show.
Fair. But yeah, me just going, "Yay, birds!"
So then we get to the turn of this show.
Yeah, at this point, it's a show, but it's a little, like, it's kind of lame, but we're still really enjoying it because it's kind of lame.
So Criss Angel is now going to talk to us a bit and be like, I want everybody on their feet. Woo! Because I need to bring some people on stage. And I'm standing up. I'm like, yeah, Criss Angel. Woo! Come get me. He wasn't interested in me. He was only interested in women. And he does... This is like one of the first times, and this will come up again and again, that he mentions that he's a 56-year-old man.
Yes.
He's like, I don't know, I'm a 56-year-old man.
It's that master shake, I am 30 or 40 years old and I do not need this.
I do not need this. But his personality is now, I used to be young and hot. Now I'm 56 and drunk.
Woof.
Because he is constantly actively drinking during the show.
And he refers to it as his medicine.
Yeah, I need my medicine.
Which makes me so uncomfortable.
I mean, like, it's an old joke. Like, yeah, it's my medicine. And, like, but it's not clever, and it's not something that should be repeated. Like, once you, like a magic trick, a joke works once, and then you move on. But he just kept making that joke.
Because I've actually seen singers with tea being like, it's my tea. I need this or you're not getting another song.
Yeah, this is to protect this. I pointed to my throat and I forgot we were doing a podcast. So he brings these 4 women on stage. Why? Why did he bring these 4 women on stage? So that they could be close up, because he's going to do some close up magic now. No, he's going to do a commercial for vodka.
And he does the thing that's like, what I'm saying, had the performer been more charismatic and charming, works. Mm-hmm. Like, unfortunately, the rule of, like, be charismatic. Because he says, like, oh, we're going to use New Amsterdam vodka because they paid me a lot of money to do it. And then he holds up the bottle and winks.
Yeah.
Which, that exact sequence could be done by somebody with the charm and the charisma. And we'd be like, hee. Yeah. But this just felt weird.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. Criss Angel just feels gross and weird. And he was like, look, we have this bottle. It's a fair bottle. I want everybody to check it out. Fair, right? Fair. I am now going to do magic. Let me have your phone. He picks one of the girls and looks at her phone. And she's got a picture of a cat on it. Mm-hmm. She goes, what's the cat's name? Snowball? She's like, no, it's Larry. It's like, it doesn't look like a Larry. It looks like a snowball. And then, like, the phone turns off. She's like, let me see if I can get this excited. And he starts, like, rubbing it.
Yeah.
Because he's rubbing this pussy cat now to see if he can get excited. And I was like, okay, this is not the greatest joke. But, like, as an off-the-cuff one-liner, not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to eat these words later. Just be aware that I'm
Did
sad.
you notice anything about the phone?
No.
I want to say this as nicely as possible. You don't show up her age and dressed like her with that old of a phone.
Oh, was it an old phone?
It looked like an old phone.
It looked like no case, which I was like, where's the case?
That sounds like that Dropout sketch.
Yeah.
But, like, it looked like an older phone. Like, maybe, like, they got the prop when the show started in 2019. And they've been using that prop 5 nights a week.
Maybe.
For 5 years.
So he takes this very real phone and this very real vodka bottle, bangs them into each other, and magically the phone is in the vodka bottle. He then has another girl on stage use her phone to call it so that they can hear it ring. And it rings like a 1950s payphone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's weird that it rings like that and not like a ringtone or
one of the off-the-shelf ringtones that you're familiar with.
It seemed weird. And you know what sound you don't hear? Because he puts his microphone up to the vodka bottle so you can hear it, so it plays out through the speakers. But the sound of the phone vibrating against the glass is absent.
Yeah.
Almost like they're just playing a freaking sound effect.
One of these young women is also dressed completely peculiarly.
She's in an orange thong.
And like an orange marabou robe. Like, don't get me wrong, she looks amazing. But we were in Vegas for a week and I did not see a lot of people just socially wearing stuff like this. So this immediately makes her look suspicious because this doesn't look like something someone wore to a show.
Mm-hmm. And like, as a trick, it's fine. He puts the phone in the glass, it rings, and then she's like, can I have it back? And they're like, yeah, good luck getting it out of the bottle. He's like, well, can you take it out, please? And he hits it with a hammer, gives it back to her, shows her it's a real phone, all this good stuff. That by itself is a fine trick. I'm now just going to tell you, it becomes painfully obvious that these two are plants.
Oh, yeah.
Because, one, there are two other girls on stage that he just doesn't interact with.
Yeah.
Like, he makes one or two passing comments to them, but doesn't really interact with them. And then he makes them sit on stage for at least 15 minutes while he does crowd work.
Holy God.
And, like, I can't stress this enough. The crowd work he does is nowhere near as good as the pussycat cell phone joke.
No.
Which makes it more and more obvious. It's like, oh, that's a rehearsed bit. This is what I remember of the crowd work. He picks a girl out. He's like, who's that? Oh, is that your brother? All right, cool. You guys want a shot? Oh, you don't drink? All right, then. And then he just moved on.
He does this a few times. He seemed to look for, like, a woman and a man together, put them on the spot, and if the woman wasn't with the guy, kind of trying to act like he was gonna wingman for the guy.
Yeah.
Like, he was gonna... The people you were mentioning were friends who were seeing the show together.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll get her drunk for you. Ha 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 ha. And I was like, why would you say that out loud in 2024? Oh my God. But like, it does this very weird thing of like, oh, you've already made it clear you don't want to date this guy. I'm gonna get you drunk so that he has a better chance. You've now just announced that.
Yeah, like, to me, what was clearly happening is he had a bit prepared for a couple.
Yeah.
And he never found that couple. So he just floundered for a bit. Because, like, there was the friends. There was definitely someone that was there with their brother.
Yeah, they were there with their entire family.
Yeah. And he just didn't know what to do, and he was like, all right, let's all do shots of vodka. No, tequila, I think.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you guys all get shots. And then...
He put an older couple that she was wearing a mask.
This is a huge problem. It was just the guy. And he was like, oh, I see you're wearing a mask. I guess you heard about the asbestos problem that we have. Which, on the surface, is not the worst joke. As someone who is an employee of the Planet Hollywood, not a joke you should make.
Right.
Like, one of the first rules of comedy is don't make fun of your venue.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, she doesn't have a mask? Do you not care about her? And, like, it's 2024. We all lived through the pandemic. Masks were a whole problem. A whole, like, issue that we all had to live with, right?
Yeah.
If you're still wearing a mask in 2024, I guarantee you don't want to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, because either you've had the conversation a million times, you're wearing it because you're immune compromised and you're trying to protect yourself, or you're just wearing it in a crowded place because you're more comfortable doing so.
Yeah, I guarantee you it's not for a funny reason. So I was just like, move on, Criss. Just move on. And then he does this bit with a kid where he kind of like, they make fun of the parents for going to this very adult show. And then they give the kid a magic set. Oh. And then he goes, I'm going to say this right now. I'm being serious. Being serious right now. Any kids that are up here?
14 or under?
14 or under. Tonight only. If you go to the gift shop and you pick out any magic set, any one, there's 3 times you can get the most expensive one, and you get it, your parent will buy it for you, or they don't love you.
I want you all to know that how Noah said that was roughly 1/3 of the amount of talking Criss Angel did to make the same
yeah.
So if you were like, get on with it to Noah, imagine how we were feeling.
Yes. And like, I really want to stress this. There are 4 volunteers, 2 because 2 are plants, on stage watching the back of Criss Angel's head during this. This talking goes on for at least 15 minutes. And my working theory is the black parade trick and the ballerina trick that we saw in the program were cut and not replaced.
Yeah.
So we had to fill that time with something. So it's just like, just talk to the crowd. And so for, like, however long those tricks have been cut, he's been doing crowd work that doesn't work. And that's at a magic show.
It takes forever. It's ridiculous.
So after the crowd work, which is, again, so long.
Oh, and includes a Trump impression, just in case.
Oh my God, I forgot all about it. He was like, I'm working on my Trump impression. I'm going to do my best Criss Angel impression of Donald Trump impression. China.
That was it. That was
That's
the whole
it.
thing.
He says one word. China. All right. So then he's like, I'm going to do something where we're going to do something with fears. I got 4 volunteers on stage. I'm going to try to make their biggest fear come to light. And despite the fact that he's already done a trick with 2 of them, he's going to do the trick with the same 2 and leave the other 2 women just on stage to be there.
Yes.
So the first girl, he's like, what's your greatest fear? I want you to focus on it. Concentrate hard. Concentrate hard. What is your biggest fear? Concentrate hard. Say it out loud. And she says, clowns. And I was just like, okay.
It's the classic one.
I don't know. I just feel like clowns as a greatest fear is too cliche. Like, I feel like if one of your greatest fears is clowns and you're asked your greatest fear, you don't even say clowns because you don't deal with clowns every day. Like, it's just such a weird... I don't know. So I roll my eyes, and then he's like, bring out the clown. And she looks behind him and is like, there's no clown. Wouldn't that be funny, though? Anyway, and he just moves on. And the other girl, what do you know? She's afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Guess what? He makes a spider appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that her greatest fear was spiders. Because if she had said, like, heights, it would have been really hard.
Or like a crippling fear of failure.
Yeah. Disappointing the people I love. That's my greatest fear.
Vampires.
Vampires, yeah. That's
Be a rough day to go to Criss Angel.
Terrible magicians. And then everybody freaks out because spider.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay.
Then he goes, I made 2 women disappear.
Yeah, woo. Again, because it's clearly a planned line. And then they're like, all right, let's thank everyone from coming on stage. And then, like, they shuffle them off and they let them take bows and stuff. And then a creepy clown creeps in.
Yep.
And just, like, gets behind the one girl and, like, startles her. Because she's a plant. Because why would they have a clown costume?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not a magic trick anymore. It's a play. Like, what is being presented as audience from the crowd are actually actresses playing the role of an audience member, pretending to be amazed.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what a magic show is anymore. Now you're just watching a play about a magic show.
And not a good one.
And not a good one. Like, so frustrated by this. So they get the people off stage. And I think this is when we cut to the video.
Oh, the pervert comes back.
Oh, yeah, the guy...
The flasher.
The flasher comes back and, like, he had, like,
an eggplant cat toy
in his pants, like just to reveal to the crowd, hey, if you thought the guy being a flasher at the beginning of the show was real, here's evidence that he's on the payroll. And then he gets knocked out by Frank Mir.
Yes.
Former UFC heavyweight champion Frank Mir is there. And he waves and he leaves. I was like, that's weird. I like Frank Mir. I'm a fan of him as a fighter. Okay. And then, like an asshole, Criss Angel says, that's Frank Mir. He's been training me to fight. We've been rolling around together training for a while now. I was like, well, then why did your ninja kicks look so terrible? How dare you bury Frank Mir? He is a former champion. You're going to put the blame of your terrible ninja fighting skills on him? That's wrong. It's wrong. Oy. So then, I think we take a hard left turn into Serious Town.
The hardest, most tonally inappropriate left turn.
We cut to a video of Criss Angel from at least 15 years ago. Because it's now young Criss Angel.
Yeah.
And he's just like, it's pediatric cancer was the thing that he was upset about. The 3 kids with pediatric cancer.
Yeah, he mentions 4 children with pediatric cancer. And then also mentions that his own son.
Yes.
Had but seems to be in recovery.
Yeah.
So, this goes on roughly forever.
Yeah.
I might still be in that theater.
He's going on about, like, the horrors of childhood cancer, which I'm not here to say that that's not horrible. I'm saying that it's weird to come up after you scared away a child with a clown and a spider at a magic show. For you to be like, hey, can we talk about pediatric cancer real quick?
I'm going to say it's weird to bring up when at the beginning of the show you talk about escaping reality.
Yeah.
Because this is a hard left turn right into reality town.
Into reality town. And then it cuts the screen after he's just like, it's terrible, it's really horrible, but we can do something, we can make a change about this. And then it cuts to Dee Snider of Twisted Sister doing a music video that is a slowed down, like, sad version of We're Not Gonna Take It.
Oh.
And on the screen it says, directed by Criss Angel. I was like, oh, come on! You can't do this!
We're not gonna take it. Oh no, we ain't gonna take it.
And then, like, on top of that, the 4 children he depicts at the beginning all come up with birth and death dates.
Yes!
And I was like, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? Because, like, I don't feel any type of way I think I'm supposed to feel. Like, I don't feel moved. Yeah. I feel kind of disgusted because I kind of feel like Criss Angel's exploiting these children for a cheap pop.
Yeah. And, like, at the end, he does a magic trick. I can't tell you what it was. But he does a magic trick. And at the end, the screens all become stars. And he's like, these are for my stars who have passed away. There's something weird to know that he's been doing this for so long. And, like, it's so gross and confusing, and I don't like it.
It feels like he's exploiting the kids in like a way. And I understand it's an issue that is connected with him personally. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this was the time or place or avenue for this.
Yeah.
Like, there was an art exhibit outside of the theater.
Yes.
With, like, childhood cancer artists and their art. And that was wholly appropriate to me. Like, of course, like, it's the cause you're championing. Have it visible and have a way for people to donate. Groovy. I felt very weird about his charity I'd never heard of being the beneficiary.
I also think it would have been beneficial if, instead of ending on, like, we miss you, we're sorry, if it ended with, like, here are the kids that have been saved. Like, I know that, like, demanding a happy ending is, like, wrong or anything like that, but I have to bring this up. My friend Chad Jaros is a magician. He appeared on Criss Angel's Mindfreak because he's a cancer survivor.
Really?
Yes! The episode's called Chad Story. It's season 2, episode 8 of Mindfreak.
Whoa.
And Chad got into magic while he was in the hospital dealing with cancer. Criss Angel has a direct story about a cancer survivor with magic involved. And I was just like, Chad's going to show up. They're going to mention Chad. No! You have an inspirational cancer story in your canon! Like, where is it? I'm sweating.
It just, the tonal whiplash, and, like, it's interesting because I feel like it sets up anyone criticizing him to be like, well, you hate cancer kids. And it's like, no, I don't at all. I don't think this was appropriate. It felt exploitative. It felt uncomfortable. If I was dealing with this in my day-to-day life and went to a Criss Angel show to kind of escape day-to-day life and got whacked in the face with it,
yeah,
I don't think I would feel all that good.
Like,
when my father was sick,
right.
I was watching BoJack Horseman, that fabulous, funny escapist show, BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where BoJack's mentor had cancer, and I turned off the show and was never able to get back into it.
Yeah, we never went back to BoJack.
And it's not because the show was poor quality, it's because I couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine being in the situation where you're maybe on a night out and, like, this is your respite care, and this is the first time you've been able to do this in a while, and then not only is it spending 15 to 20 minutes of an hour and a half long magic show on not magic, it's really upsetting and uncomfortable, to the point where I was hearing what I can best describe as funeral laughter in the crowd. Mm-hmm. That uncomfortable, what the hell is happening laughter?
Yeah, that rough chuckle. I'm just uncomfortable.
Yes, the rough chuckle.
Yeah. When you're feeling so awkward that, our bodies don't have a natural sound you're supposed to make, so you go with laughter. This is so... It's so frustrating. I believe this is all during the trick where he flies.
This is leading up to it.
The first time.
Because he talks about a young woman whose make-a-wish was to see Criss Angel levitate in person.
Okay.
And that's how he sets it up. Mm-hmm. And there's a magician's assistant clearly meant to represent the child. Mm-hmm. And he, levitates with her. And they dance, and it's like an aerial ballet. Which is very pretty, but it's not magic. We can see wires.
This is done on a black curtain. And there is definitely a time where you see wires, and then it's just this is just meant to be pretty. And it's very confusing. But the way that this trick ends is he walks towards the darkness, which you're not supposed to realize is a curtain. Swaps with his body double. And then gets rises up, almost as if he's on a forklift. And then, he's under a sheet. And then, the sheet drops away and he's gone. Almost like he stepped back behind a curtain. And then it turns out Criss Angel's in the crowd.
Oh.
And it's just all right, there's the body double, just like I called it. Okay. And then after all of that, he's now it's time for me to do what Vanish Magazine claimed to be the greatest trick of all time.
Constant mention of accolades he has received.
Oh, so often. He's this is something really special. Get excited for this. This is this is going to be something great. But, my dad told me. I remember when I was with my dad, I told him I wanted to get into magic, and he never wanted me to read any magic books or anything like that. He just wanted me to find my own methods. And it makes me really sad that he never got to see this trick. And I was okay, this is another pull at the heartstrings. He's kind of doing the same manipulation to us.
Yeah, my dad.
And I think this might also be because he leaves to get ready for it.
Yeah.
And he's but before I do this trick, please give it up for my amazing crew. Without them, I couldn't do this. So there's kind of a weird curtain call that takes place.
Yeah, he introduces a bunch of the assistants.
Mm-hmm. He says, here they are. We never learned their names. He leaves. They come out for bows. And I Am the Mindfreak is playing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the ego to be give it up for my... Without them, I couldn't do this. I am the Mindfreak. That song's about you. That you wrote and you're singing. And this is when we're supporting your crew?
This is also right after the Cancer Kids montage.
What are we doing? Oh. So then when Criss returns, he's going to do this amazing trick, which is flying, which is the trick he's just done.
Yeah.
But it's done with a different method. So I think to Criss, he's like, this is more amazing. But to the crowd, that if you don't know magic, your response to this should be...
You just flew.
I just saw you fly. Why are you doing this again? Criss starts standing on a ladder. Which, to me, gives away the entire problem that Criss Angel has with his relationship with magic. Criss knows that he's about to fly. Right? Mm-hmm. He's standing up high on a ladder, and he walks down the ladder the way that weird picture is, where he's basically not using the rungs correctly. He's at like a 90-degree angle off of the ladder walking down.
Yes.
And then he walks to the ground, which is a great like visual illusion. One, we did just see him fly, so I'm less impressed with this. Two, he left the stage. So he lost all credibility of, I'm not doing anything funny. Three, for a trick about flying, why would you start up high and descend? Like, the whole thing about flying is, look, he's taking off. Why would you not do that? Why would you do the opposite of that?
Why would you go full Buzz Lightyear? You're not flying. You're falling with style.
Yeah, he falls with style down. They move the ladder, like, around. He levitates off the ground. So now you're finally getting the part of the trick you want to see. He flies under the ladder in an attempt to be like, look, there's no wires, because how would I be able to get under this ladder? And then they put him in like a clear box that he kind of like swings around in. And if he's in a clear box, how could there be wires? He's completely enclosed. David Copperfield does this exact trick. He did it on a TV specials in the 90s. This trick is at least 20 years old. Why is this the greatest illusion of all time, Vanish Magazine?
It's
nothing new at all.
And then I have something labeled chair illusion.
Chair illusion?
I don't remember what this was.
I don't remember chair illusion. Oh, this might have been the world record trick where the metamorphosis where the girl's sitting in a chair and then a second later she's in a box further on the stage.
Yes.
I think we just missed talking about it. There's not much to say about it. It's... Criss Angel does about 4 tricks in this.
Yes.
He disappears and reappears, and he flies, and he makes animals appear. And that's basically all he does. And he does the cell phone thing. But that's basically it. Those are the 4 tricks he does. To hype this trick so much, and for me to just be like, this is David Copperfield. What? Like I was looking around at people like, is anyone else furious right now that he's just doing David Copperfield right now?
Well, and then at the end, like, we're pretty much at the end of the show, folks.
Yeah.
And he goes, now let's celebrate life.
Oh, well, first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure I missed something.
First, after he's like, that's the greatest magic trick of all time, he then comes out and he says, real quick, thank you guys so much for coming. I want to say something to you right now as Christopher, not as Criss, the BS artist. And
the BS guy. He doesn't even use the term artist.
The BS guy. This is what I'm about to say is real. This is coming from Criss. From Christopher. You guys have been one of the greatest audience of all time. And
this is after he's begged us for validation and said nothing we've done is good enough.
I looked at Laura and I was like, so now it's not BS? You think he would have saved all the cancer stuff for now, instead of admitting that was the BS guy talking about pediatric cancer. I was just like, the messaging in this is so confusing. Oh. And then he just yells, let's celebrate life. And then it says celebrate life on the screens. And like beach balls kind of come out.
And Noah and I are laughing that baffled laughter.
Yeah. Because I was like, people are buying this. People are in. Maybe. Or they just feel so awkward that they're close to him. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to do one more trick. If you guys sit down, you won't be able to see it. So stay standing. I was like, oh, right. We have to continue
This
to
dude makes us
praise him.
stand and praise him for like 20 minutes.
Oh my God, Criss Angel, you're so good. Oh my God. Oh my God, Criss Angel, you're so good. Guys, brace yourself. He's like, I'm going to do one more. And he gets on the table that he appeared from. Oh no, before this is important. There's the comedian in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, and that goes on forever.
He's like, before we get going, I just want to say, oh, what's her name? It's not Lettice.
Linnell.
Linnell is in the crowd. I want to bring her on stage. Like, Linnell, you're one of the greatest comics out there. What do you have to say? And Linnell is 1, hammered, 2, not prepared to be carrying the Criss Angel show. But it's like very clear that Criss is like, this is what I have scheduled.
3, not prepared to work clean.
Yeah. And it's just like, Criss, I love you. I'll be waiting for you in your dressing room. And guess what Criss Angel replies with? I'm a 56-year-old man. And then he takes a sip of his medicine. I want you to understand, like, I can't...
He also does start to sound off throughout the show. Almost like he's drinking the whole show.
Yeah. I really need to, like, stress this. We don't have clips, because we weren't allowed to record. There's not clips of this show. What I just described with Linnell is at least 15 minutes of time.
Everything. Like, everything takes about 3 times longer than we make it sound like it takes.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
Criss then gets on the table that he used to appear from. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to disappear. But before he does, he yells, let's hear it one time for the troops.
Oh gosh, yes, that last, like, cheap pop.
It was just like, how? What? We can't do that every time. Like, every trick can't be inspired by, like, a tragedy or a hero that we've lost. Like, I was like, when the show ended, I looked at Laura and I went, I'm so glad there wasn't another trick, because he would have to talk about dead puppies next. Because he used up everything else in the, like, cheap pop department. Oh my God. So that was the end of the show. And, like, we all, like, slowly shuffled out. We got our picture taken in front of the weird Criss Angel cutout that is, again, 20 years younger than him. He has not gotten new photos done in quite some time. The kids ran and grabbed a bunch of magic kits. I got in line to see what my photo looked like. It was $45 and I did not want to buy it because I was so angry at this point. Usually for the novelty of it, I would have been like, look, I'm in a straight. I went to Criss Angel and stuff like that. But I was so infuriated by this show that had so little magic in it that I was just like, nah, another dime. Not even for a joke. I'm sorry, Criss Angel.
Yeah, like, I can remember the human, like, he mentions his son having childhood cancer, and so it's clearly an issue that connects with him personally.
Right.
And I can be compassionate toward that. Most of what I took from this is we are watching a man who has outgrown his brand.
Yeah.
And did not adapt.
No.
because we were talking about this for the rest of the trip, but really we spent most of that evening in a Shake Shack discussing this because we realized we hadn't eaten most of the day, and then we were like, oh, we're hungry. So we sat down in Shake Shack, and all I could think was, this is a man who has outgrown what his brand was and never figured out another thing.
Yeah.
Like, David Copperfield in the 80s and 90s had this, like, Prince Charming, Casanova, romantic magic vibe. Mm-hmm. And morphed that into being an elder statesman of magic.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller were young, rebellious clowns who then just sort of became, like, the cool, fun uncles of magic.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have to change everything about themselves, but they had, for want of a better term, gimmicks that they figured out how to parlay into aging.
Yeah.
And not everything needs to have a gimmick based in being youthful. Sometimes it can just be like, oh yeah, like, you can just be certain things forever. But if you can't be this forever, here's how you can evolve. Criss Angel's, like, rock and roll, hardcore, emo kid, Ed Hardy, Rock of Love gimmick works on a young man in a specific time period. When that man becomes 56 years old and the year is 2024, the misogynist jokes aren't cute.
No.
You're not a cutting-edge rebel. Like, you are the establishment. And you're clearly not walking on the edge anymore because you have a family and a home life that you're thinking about and preoccupied with, which is normal. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about, like, how do you adapt that gimmick? And all I could think was, like, being, like, an older, like, vampiric figure, almost. Of, like, Bram Stoker's Dracula. With the long hair, I kind of got that, like, Gary Oldman and Bram Stoker's Dracula vibe. And, like, that's a way you could have done it.
Yeah, because one thing I said was, instead of the crowd work, he should have brought in a younger magician.
Yes.
To kind of be like, hey, this is someone I'm mentoring. Look at them do stuff. But the thing about Criss Angel is everything's about his credits, his cred, the amazing things he's done, to the point that he's stopped even caring about amazing the audience. It's more important to him to be like, look at, like, how brilliant this thing is that I've created to create this, like, view, that he doesn't even stop to think, like, is the crowd going to think, wow, how did he do that? Like, there's only one way he could have done it, so that's how he did it. And I guess that's just good enough for him. Like, it was almost a special effects show instead of a magic show. It's just like, look how good my special effects are. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm using sleight of hand or anything like that.
It's peculiar because it's someone who is clearly outgrown their brand, but is also fully relying on their brand.
Yeah.
Because any other magician without the brand would have been laughed out of Vegas with that act.
Yeah.
It's kind of tragic.
Yeah, it's very tragic. And because I want you to understand, as a big fan of magic, I loved Criss Angel Mindfreak. Like, I watched it all the time. I watched all the David Blaine specials and stuff like that. And, like, being in that situation where, like, you want to believe. And, because, like, I Googled Criss Angel during this show. And one of the questions that pops up is Criss Angel real? Is his magic real? And, like, he's doing the impossible on these magic shows where he's, you know, ripping people in half and going stuff that the only way you can really do it is if everyone's an actor and we're all just pretending. And then it stops being a magic show. It's a show about a magic show. And, bleh.
I mean, Criss Angel headlined Cirque du Soleil's first actual flop.
Yes, you wanted to bring that up.
Believe, I believe, was
Yes,
the...
it's called Believe.
And in the early iterations of it, it had a full story. He had one assistant who was a love interest and one assistant who was an antagonist, and they were fighting for his soul or whatever. He graphically dies at least once.
Cool.
And it got horrific reviews. But he was in a 10-year contract with the Luxor, so they kind of retooled it into being more like the magic show. And it was successful enough that when that ended, he picked up a new residency at the Planet Hollywood in the Criss Angel Theater. And, like, I looked up the reviews for it, and it's very interesting. There is no middle ground in recent reviews.
Okay.
Most recent review, 5 stars, fantastic performance from a true icon. Next most recent, from 2 days ago, 1 star, the worst show I've ever seen in my life. Boring. If you want to see magic, it is not your show. A lot of speech, but 4 counted magic tricks. Of the hour and a half that the show lasts, only 20 minutes are worth it. Next one, 5 stars. We love it. Our first show in Vegas. Next one, 1 star. Next one, 1 star. So it's all 5 star or 1 star.
Yeah. No one thinks this show is average.
He's apparently always filming. Because they mentioned that they were filming the night we were there.
Yes.
And then this is mentioning 6 days ago they were also filming.
Yeah, well, I mean, big parts of this were like close-up magic, so you had to have the camera and you had to have it on screen because sitting miles away in our seats, watching him do sleight of hand doesn't mean anything.
Then turns into legit trash. No, really, in very large amounts being blown in your face.
Yeah, actual garbage.
So, this one, random people came out and showed us dumb talent show-like tricks. So apparently he had other people. I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe.
The Dear Evan Hansen effect.
So, everything I'm seeing here is 1 star that lines up with a lot of our complaints, or 5 star.
That makes sense to me.
So I find that very, very interesting.
So what's your verdict then?
What happened? This is so confusing to me, because a lot of times when we watch like a Razzie show or a Stay Doomed show, you can kind of see where something went wildly wrong. To me, this is what happens when, like, someone is an auteur, but no one tells them no. Like, there needed to be a production manager or a director being like, no, we cannot have a 15-minute sequence on childhood cancer.
To me, it's just very much of, like, we got Criss Angel. Well, what's the show like? I don't know. It's Criss Angel. It'll sell out. Like, that's my feeling towards all of this, is this constant feeling of, yeah, that's fine. Like, and the big thing to me is the evidence that we found that there were 2 tricks that have been cut and not replaced.
Yeah, at least 2. Because we only did a very quick perusal of the program.
Yeah, but, like, in thumbing through it, the one thing I will also say is I didn't see a trick that was not in the program. So it's not like, oh, they do this trick instead of this trick. No, it's just like, these 2 tricks are just an empty space now.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like they fill it with just gabbing and talking. Because his contract probably says the show has to be X minutes long.
Yeah, the show probably has to be 90 minutes.
So
that's the standard.
Like, it can't be like, oh, surprise, we're down to, this being a 73-minute show.
We're down to a tight 45.
Like, you can't do that. So he's like, all right, I'll stretch every night. It's just,
There's more stretch than show.
There's more stretch than show. And, like, to me, he got famous doing tricks on TV you cannot do live.
It was... And he mentions that frequently. He mentions, like, I did this on season 2 of... So there's nothing that feels interesting. There's nothing that feels special. I felt sad because I really did kind of feel for him of, like, this is a man who's still doing this show for some reason. But he's outgrown his brand. It doesn't fit him anymore. He doesn't know what he's really going to do anymore. He's a 56-year-old man. He's drinking during his show.
He should pull a Gallagher and just sell the Criss Angel character to someone who can be a magician.
I mean, I didn't know David Copperfield was the same guy until, like, 5 years ago.
Oh, you thought he was a new David Copperfield?
I thought it was a Dread Pirate Roberts situation.
Okay.
Where they just handed the name down.
It's not the same one from the book.
That might be where that misunderstanding started, okay. Admittedly. I kind of just thought it was like I said, like a Dread Pirate Roberts. Mm-hmm. Where, like, they just handed the name down from, protege, from, mentor to protege.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like magic brands would work better in some fashion. Like, Penn and Teller stand out to me because they are so charismatic and their personalities do drive the show so well.
Yes.
Criss Angel needed a mouthpiece. He was like a wrestler in need of a manager.
Yeah. But God forbid anyone take the spotlight off of him.
Yeah, like, one of those assistants should have essentially been, like, the MC from Cabaret. Like...
See, it's funny that you're saying this, because there was one. Throughout the show, there was a guy that would, like, come out and talk and get text messages from Criss. Like, oh, Criss is watching. He says, we're going to do this trick because he wants to give you guys something special.
But he only shows up, like, at the beginning.
Yeah, and then he was a nothing person.
And also just kind of seemed like a put-out stage manager.
Yeah.
Like, Criss Angel, believe it or not, do less.
Yeah.
Criss Angel, become mysterious, become unknowable again.
Yeah.
He needs to recourt that mystery. Mm-hmm. Recourt the enigma, and have the mouthpiece be your storyteller. I keep saying the MC from Cabaret because that character generally has, like, a sinister undertone.
Right.
But having, like, the narrator who welcomes you in, like, God help me, Vincent Price in the Scooby-Doo movies.
Okay.
Like, that kind of creepy host. You could do, like, a Svengoolie, a, like, Danhausen variant character.
Yeah.
Who's kind of like, I am your host. I mean, the beginning of this podcast. Good evening, Grave Robbers. We are more effective. You know what, Criss Angel? I'm surprisingly cost efficient.
Yeah, for real.
Hire me. And have that, good evening, Grave Robbers. Mm-hmm. Welcome back for another evening of magic. Like, you could have that...
He doesn't want to be creepy, though. He wants to be cool. That's the problem.
Well, I'm afraid, to quote another wrestler, well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you.
And to quote a magician, he's 56 years old. In any case, I'm going to give this a stay tuned.
Yes.
Do not see this show. It's a massive disappointment.
Like, I'm trying desperately to remember the human because I feel bad just crapping on something, but don't pay money for this.
Don't pay money for this. It's bad. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We're going to get back to covering shows that ran one season or less next week. We're finally going to do Scorch.
Yes.
Scorch because the creator of Scorch was actually at the Excalibur.
Were they?
So, it's kind of sticking with this Vegas theme here in June. So get excited for that. We're actually going to do Scorch very soon. So get excited. Where can people find us, Laura?
You can email us at the Stay Doomed Show at gmail.com or on Facebook and Twitter at Stay Doomed.
And if you want to talk to me about magic, because I love talking magic, I'm at +2 Comedy on Twitter.
If you want to talk about the way you can adapt a gimmick to move forward in time, I'm at Priorities or Glitter and Glow Tape on Instagram. Until next time, stay doomed.